This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, welcome to the Ordinance Committee meeting of, what is the date today? February 17th, 2022. We are still holding our meetings remotely because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. I know that Councilor Rothschild had sent some minutes. She sent two sets, but they were the same set. So it was minutes for our joint public hearing with the planning board. So did you have a chance to look those over, Tom?
Yeah.
Great. Do you feel comfortable moving those?
Yeah, so I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of January 25th.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. And Tom Peak?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So we'll let Lindsay know to forward those to Barbara. We don't have any new business and we don't have any public here to speak. We are currently, Councilor Rothschild should be on momentarily. The only item on our agenda for tonight is our continuing review of the Ordinance Review Committee's final report. And I think that as we kind of move through this, as we had talked about last time, there's some low-hanging fruit that we can kind of put together for a package to bring to the full council, that really easy, simple fixes. And then there's ones that are going to be a little bit more meaty that we are going to pull out and work on their own. And I think tonight, probably an admirable goal is to just take that low-hanging fruit. I think it really would be, I know that you've discussed these already, but just to put another set of eyes on it one more time, say, okay, what does this do? We good with that? Let's do it. Or do we need to, are we good with that? Maybe add one more word or however we go with that. And so I don't know, as far as, I know that last time we had talked about maybe creating a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe as we kind of go through this, we can, that can form as we go. But do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, let me see if I can just do that right now.
Okay.
It's kind of dependent on how well
your computer can multitask.
Acrobat wants to talk to Excel.
Uh-huh.
So we're about to find out. Oops.
Oh, there's Lindsay.
No, it's doing it all at once.
Welcome, Lindsay.
Hey, sorry about that.
No worries. we just approved the minutes from the 25th.
Okay, I sent the other ones too right after the last meeting.
I think. Oh, okay. After the last meeting.
Well, I sent it that same day. That's why
I think you sent the same ones twice, unless
No, those are both today, but I sent the 27th on the 27th.
On the 27th, I was okay. I was like, oh, there's two.
And I just here. I'll send them again.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Let me see if I can.
I just sent them again.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I wrote them that day, so I was like, I sent them to you that day. I'm not used to getting things so early.
That's great. Okay, I'm gonna just take a quick look at these. I see you're on there as well. All right. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Tom, after you're done seeing if you can create that, you want to take a look at these and we can move these ones as well?
Yeah, I think I already looked at them.
Oh, okay.
Double check. Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready to
perfect. All right, so let's get a motion for the 27th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 27th, 2022.
Awesome.
Second.
All right, we have a motion in a second. Councilor Rothschild.
Yes.
Councilor Peak.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So we can, Lindsay, we approved the other ones 2-0.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you can send both of those to Barbara, let her know that we approve them, both sets.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Perfect. All right. So let me just get back to where I was. Give me a second here. So I was saying for the final report, maybe what we can do tonight is to pull out the ones that we think are the low-hanging fruit ones, just to just look at them one more time, and then and place those into a package so that we can bring those to the full council. And then the ones that are left over, we can save for another meeting where we dive more deeply into them, because there's some of that are actually going to be a little bit of
Big research.
More research and deliberation. So and I think if we just go through, I have right now on my screen, I have up both the recommendations and the city ordinances. So what I was thinking is we can just go through one by one, read the recommendation, read the full language of the ordinance, and then say, are we good to make this change, put it in the pile to bring to full council. Does that sound reasonable to you guys?
Yep.
That does. Can I ask one sort of procedural question before we get going?
Yes.
If we were to say that there were 7 things that we identified in various sections that were all to us, this first one, section 1.4, there's just some language that doesn't make any sense, right? So just amend it to be another thing. Does that need to be, or do you think it would be appropriate, rather? I don't know if any of us, if there's a specific law, would we be able to put this on would we want to schedule a bunch of small public hearings, one for each individual amendment?
I think we can bundle for the public hearing. I believe that we can bundle them.
Okay. Do we want to do that?
If it's like little things like, changing a couple words here and there, I think that would probably be fine. I think I can check with Omar and see what his preference is as far as that. And I would also just want to double check to make sure that that each one doesn't have to be advertised separately. That could be a little of an issue, because if it has to be advertised separately, then we have to pay for that.
Yeah, so that's sort of where I was thinking, if we could just advertise it as we're making a series of housekeeping changes to the city ordinances, here's what they are, but it's one advertisement as opposed to 7 different advertisements. That would save the city a non-trivial amount of money.
No, I agree. And that's kind of where I'm thinking with this bundling idea. And I think within the advertising, this is, obviously we'll double check this just to make sure that this isn't just my perception, but I believe that if we advertise each section and just saying these are going to be, minor wording changes or, minor whatever, however we word it, I think as long as we keep all the sections in there, I think we can bundle them. I believe so. I feel like we've done that in the past. So, but that is, one of the things that we're going to need to investigate a little bit further. But I think for now, just going through each one of these and saying, okay, here's what we need to do. And then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess. If that sounds reasonable. All right. Very good. Okay. So is everybody ready?
Yeah. Get all my documents up now.
Okay. Let's jump into it. So first recommendation, section 1.4. This is one of the ones that I think goes into the easy bin. Strike authorizes any act from being performed to replace with prohibits any act. And I believe, and let me just, oh great, now I have to go through the ordinances. Maybe one of us, do you guys have the ordinances up?
Yeah.
Maybe if we divide and conquer on this. So if I read the recommendation or vice versa.
Yeah. We have the ordinances up.
Because that way I don't have to scroll through and find everyone in real time. And then we can just read what the language is of 1.4.
All right. Yes. I don't write what page. That would have been helpful.
Oh, you know what you can do is if you go into the table of contents, you can click on the table of contents. I'll bring you right to it.
Oh, cool.
That's one of the good parts of our ordinances online. So I have it. Do you want me to just read it? Well, I have it, and then-
When an ordinance, when an ordinance authorizes any act from being performed without a license or permission of a certain officer, board, or committee, such officer, board, or committee shall have the right to issue a license or permit for such act to be performed.
Right.
What?
And so,
I'm sorry.
yeah, right, exactly. And so we're saying instead of authorizes any act from being performed, we would replace that with prohibits any act.
Okay,
And
when
still,
a-
I mean, I think that whole section seems really kind of like,
Yeah, can we make that clearer? Because I think that's one of the things we talked about in our review committee about accessibility was like, we get that these are written from like the legal kind of blah, 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 but if
Yeah.
they're so gobbledygook, the public can't easily just read it and know what it's saying.
right. I mean, it should be something as simple as when an ordinance, authorizes an act to be performed, then that licensing authority has the right to issue a permit. Like something as simple as that.
Yeah, well, so we wanted to change it. We had suggested when an ordinance prohibits any act
Right. Yep.
without the license or permission of a certain officer, such officer shall have the right to issue a license for such an act to be performed. So what's this saying if it prohibits it?
So I mean, I think so.
Oh, I see.
So I think that the gist of this one in particular is saying, okay, well, all right, you want to have live music by the pond, and in order to do that, you need to have a permit, right? So an ordinance would authorize that to be performed, but you can't do it without the permit. So whatever board oversees that has the right to issue a permit.
Right. Okay.
Am I? That's the correct interpretation of this, right?
Yeah, if it says you can't do yada, yada, yada without the permission of the fire chief, then
Right.
what that means is that the fire chief has the authority to give that permission,
Right.
which I feel should just go without saying, but
It should go without saying.
Do we need an ordinance that says, I guess that's probably some kind of,
There must be some legal reason for it, I guess.
yeah.
But and I think that the recommendation is good. Here's the thing. I like Tom. I like the way you said that because when I think of, because there's a lot of things that aren't prohibited that are allowed, but you just need to get permission, right? So, but that is important. Like you can't do it unless you have permission.
Yeah,
So,
Right.
so that's where that
and-
wording makes
yeah.
sense. Right.
And that individual, whoever's listed when there, also is being given permission to make those calls.
Right.
I think that's the important part of this, is
Right.
that we are stating, if it says you can't do this without the permission of the fire chief, and then the fire chief says, oh, well, go ahead and do it. That is the fire chief's authority to do that. No one's able to go and be like, well, what the hell, fire chief? Why'd you do that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, so let's just one more time, make sure that this works the way that we want it to work. So it would be when an ordinance prohibits any act from being performed without the license or permission of a certain officer, board, or committee, such officer, board, or committee shall have the right to issue a license or permit for such an act to be performed. Okay, that works. I mean, it is a little verbose, but I guess, that's a simple change. And I think hopefully people will be able to understand that. So let's go ahead and mark this one as
accepted,
accepted.
Yeah.
Let's put this in the pile.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. Section 1.7, language to be updated to note that city ordinances are available online. The committee also recommends that city not charge for a copy of the city ordinances if a resident does not have internet access. Okay, so let's take that to section 1.7.
The city council shall cause copies of these ordinances to be printed and to be kept in the city clerk's office where copies or portions thereof may be purchased upon application.
Okay.
So basically, the committee was like, we should just say they're online as well, not just printed in a file cabinet. And then if you do need it, you shouldn't have to pay for it.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that makes sense. So, I mean, I think the way this can be a little wordsmithing here. So so the city council shall cause copies of these ordinances to be available digitally on like that, like something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hosted on the city website.
So hosted on the city website. And you know what, I believe that, because that's great, but I also believe that there's copies of these available in the library as well. I don't know if
I
we
do
need
think
to-
that's true. Yeah.
I don't know if
how
we need to
often they
mention that.
update them, though.
Yeah, true.
And to be kept in the city clerk's office, where copies or portions thereof may be obtained by residents or not by anyone.
Yep.
But maybe requested. I don't know.
requested.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just figure like how often can this possibly happen in this day and
Yeah.
age?
Exactly.
It would have some huge fiscal impact to just,
Yeah.
if someone needs them, just print out what they need.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or email them to him.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
So maybe we should say to be the city non-employment to be kept in the city clerk's office, or maybe requested in print and digital form. I don't know.
Yeah, in print and digital form. I think that's fine.
Yeah, be kept in print and digital form. Or copies of. Okay, there we go.
That seems fair enough. Are you good with that, Tom?
Fine with that.
Okay. All right. So then that brings us to chapter 2.
Mhm.
And I believe is it Article 3?
Yeah.
Chapter 2, Article 3.
So this is, sorry.
No, go for it.
This is one where I really strongly believe in this issue and care about it, but I also do think it kind of deserves a little bit more of a substantial conversation than some of these things. So I kind of wonder if this shouldn't kind of be its own thing.
So
You should
let's
put a pin in it. Right?
yeah. Maybe let's bypass this one for now and put it in the needs for the review pile.
Okay.
Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
So we'll put chapter 2, division 3. Because that's the Council on Aging term limit, I believe, right?
Yeah.
No, this is the one about, there's a bunch of,
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, there's a bunch of these positions that right now you have to be a registered voter for.
Oh, right.
And the thought was like, well, what if you are, say an immigrant who's still working on your visa, or
Mhm.
maybe you don't live in Easthampton, but you own a business and are a subject matter expert. I mean, depending on the committee, that might be fine. And I think that the council has the ability to be intelligent about that sort of thing. I don't think that. I just don't think that like, I think, well, you could also, you could have like a 16-year-old who really cares about
Mhm.
this issue and knows a ton about it, so I just think that the voter requirement, has the chance of excluding a handful of people who
Sure.
could actually be pretty qualified. I think it's kind of a no-brainer, but I also do think that just there might be some conversations that we have there about, are there boards that we think residency requirements are important for? Is that never important?
Right.
So I do think that there's just like, I don't think it's a huge thing, but in terms of just like, I see it as like a step up from the super low hanging fruit. Like the,
Yes.
Yeah, because what you're saying, Tom, I was just thinking about just with Zoom and everything, that there's been groups of people kind of pushing themselves into local meetings about anti-masking or whatever topic. And
Mhm.
I mean, you would just hate for like a committee to get stacked with like people that aren't even from there or around there, it doesn't seem likely, but I could see why we'd want to have further discussion, like a certain percentage of the committee should be residents. I don't know about voters, but anyway.
No,
So,
that's
yeah.
good. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these ones that are going to require more deliberation, more thought, more detail, and I'm just going to make a list of them. So so that way, Lindsay, you can focus on the ones that we're going to put in the bulk pile that hopefully we can bring all at once, and I'll put these ones together separately.
Okay, cool.
Does that sound fair? We can attack it from both angles here.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to section 2.2-51. And this is the Council on Aging term, I believe.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the one where I believe that most of these appointments are 3-year appointments, but this one doesn't have a length.
Yeah.
It's not listed.
It doesn't, but they do.
Yeah. They have been treating them like 3-year appointments this whole time. Like people go up for reappointment every 3 years, but rules as written, they are lifetime appointments.
Yeah, it says appointees to the Council of Aging shall hold office until their successors are designated.
Yeah.
So if you look at the one right after the planning board, I think it's right after, it says members shall be, we could just take the same sentence and stick it here instead. Members of the Council on Aging shall be appointed by the mayor for terms of 3 years.
Okay, that sounds super reasonable to me. Let's just put that in there.
Okay.
I think it's fine because that's current practice anyway.
Yeah, I mean we're updating the ordinance to follow what they're doing, so that's great. Yeah. Okay, so let's Lindsay, do you have that one?
Yep.
Okay, let's move on here. The committee recommends that the city strike the words "if appropriate" from the second paragraph, therefore always requiring a public hearing, section 2-83. And let me just get to there. 2-83.
Okay.
Two dash 8.3. Okay. So that would be under naming of municipal buildings, facilities, and public places. Let me just see. And we are going to say that if appropriate is going to be struck. So let me just find if appropriate. Kind of a long one.
Which is basically that you should hold a public hearing no matter when you're naming something, not just if appropriate, just like
Right.
whenever you're naming something.
That makes total sense here. So upon a 5-minute panel review the names. Oh, okay. So it's in the second paragraph of section 2-83 procedure. Upon receipt of such a request, the city council shall vote to convene a 5-member panel to review proposed names, to hear public testimony, including holding a public hearing if appropriate, and to offer a recommendation to the council. So we're saying just take off if appropriate. So that way they always will just hold a public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because what even is appropriate? How do we make that?
Exactly.
Well, it's like, oh, do we feel like it? I think is the appropriate. So and it makes sense. Like we've done this a bunch of different times. And here's the only thought. Here's the only thought.
Okay.
Because I've been involved with this multiple times. We could say, because what this is requiring is to have a public hearing at the subcommittee level, right? At the, I guess it's a it's not a, it's like a it's an ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee level. So I mean, we could just say when they offer the recommendation to the council that the city council holds a public hearing on it. So I mean, but I guess that might be because I don't think that we hold a public hearing when we do naming of public places. I think it just comes to the council and we approve it.
Well, the committee can hold a public hearing though.
Yeah, I mean, they could, yeah. So, I mean, and if we think that that's the right place for it, then I think that that's fine. I was just saying we could have it at the full council level, have the public hearing there, but I guess that's maybe overkill.
Mhm.
So I'm fine with striking if appropriate,
Okay, I'll just put accept change.
except change. I think that should be fine.
So chapter 5 takes more time, it looks like.
All right, so and let's take a look at, so chapter 5, the committee found that much of chapter 5 to be outdated. It's unclear what activity the section seeks to enforce or how reliably it is enforced outside of Article 3 garage sales. In speaking with City Clerk Barbara LaBombard, the committee came to the conclusion that the city's current garage sale ordinance imposes an administrative burden on the clerk, which is not necessarily covered by the small fees. The committee recommends that the council eliminate or rework most of this section. Police department also describes sections 5.1, 5.3, and all of section 5, Article 2 as obsolete. So this is going to have to go into the, I think, the bigger pile here. But let's just take a real quick look at the chapter 5. So chapter 5, junk dealers, hawkers, peddlers, and sales of secondhand articles. Yeah, so let's just take the only thing is mobile vendor ordinance. You know, we have reviewed that recently. That's one of the things that I feel like we maybe a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, we were looking at, because there were people that wanted to sell like hot dogs and in mobile carts.
Right.
So this could be, there could be some meaty stuff in here, no pun intended. So yeah, so let's just put all of chapter 5 into our more detailed section.
Okay.
So I'll just take this and I'll put it in my document. Okay, perfecto. Let's move to 6.1. Police department noted that the language as it currently stands is not sufficiently detailed and sometimes does not stand up in court. This should be reviewed and updated, and it's under the purview of the building department. So let's just take it.
Wait, which one are you looking at?
Section 6.1.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
6-1, sorry. So this is 6-1 is storage of unregistered vehicles. Keeping of more than one unregistered vehicle assembled or disassembled except by a person licensed under general law chapter 140 section 59 on any premise that shall be unlawful unless a motor vehicle is stored in an enclosed building or otherwise out of sight of all butters in public ways. This section shall not apply to motor vehicles which are designed and used for farming, industrial, and construction purposes. Whoever violates any provision of this section shall be subject to a penalty of $50 and $10 per day for each violation, commencing 10 days following the date of receipt of written notice from the mayor. Okay. So, is not sufficiently detailed. Do we, since both of you guys were on this committee, do you remember anything about this particular issue?
Yeah, and the police actually, I believe, in their communications suggested specific changes to the language, which
okay,
are certainly we could, to me this is another one that probably you need to take a look at, but I guess what they're saying is that I think that one of the things, if I remember, that they were saying is that there have been folks who just like threw a tarp over a bunch of
it's like object permanence. They threw a tarp over it, doesn't exist.
Right. And they're like, well, it's out of view. You can't see it. There's a tarp on it. And the courts agreed.
Really?
Yeah. They said it's out of view. You can't see a car. You can just see a thing under a tarp. What's the big deal?
Right.
So I think that was kind of, they were saying like, as it stands, this can't really be enforced.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in our pile of ordinances that needs a deeper look, and I'm going to put on here a note that says like change language about the view, I guess, like, you know.
Yeah.
And if we have any of if you have any of that correspondence from the police department, that would probably be pretty helpful for us to be able to take a look at one more time when we get this. I don't know, Lindsay, is that something you might have?
I don't know if they, because we had, someone in the meeting and he might have just
Right.
said that in the meeting. So I
Okay.
think it'd be useful. I think there might be a couple in here that need police input. So I think it'd be helpful just to invite them to our meeting.
Yep.
Like with the some pre-information about what we're gonna be discussing, so they can just come and work through with us.
So I'll put that in a note here. And if we have more than one of those things that we want the police to come to, we can look at them all together.
Mhm.
I totally agree, but I swear they sent us like a marked up PDF
Of that one?
for like the whole
No, they didn't. We went section by section and sometimes they would come in and they didn't do a whole thing. Because Officer Sichi was there, so often he would just kind of give input on the spot. They didn't give us a whole marked up PDF. Who did most was Barb, and not public safety, but
DPW.
DPW. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna put that one with the note, because I think it'd be easy for us to say, okay, well, they can't be on any premises. It shall be unlawful unless the motor vehicle is stored in an enclosed building or out of sight, or not viewable, or like whatever, we could wordsmith that if that was it, to make it so it would hold up. But it would be great to get. It'd be great to get the police, because I know that this has been an issue. This has been an issue. And so that's something we want to make sure that we do right, so it will hold up in court for sure. And the other one, the next one is keeping of swine. So I know swine shall be kept in ape without a license from the Board of Health. Only that is out of date. So the recommendation was to eliminate this one.
Yeah.
Which I think would probably be fine. I guess my only thought is, how does that jive? I don't think we have. I mean, we used to have a bunch of pig farms like next to where Whitebrook is. There used to be a bunch of pig farms over there, but that's not really happening anymore. The only thing is we did a right to farm ordinance. And so I don't know if we eliminated this, I don't think it would affect that at all. I think that the right to farm ordinance kind of just like within areas that are zoned for farming, you can farm. And I think keeping of animals is part of that.
If they were to stay here, like I think what Bree said is they don't do anything with swine. Like
they don't do anything with swine.
So, and this says the Board of Health.
Right.
So if someone is doing something with swine, then we get that.
Yeah. So, and it says that the license, so the Board of Health doesn't have anything to do with this as of now. This was literally written in 1945. So I feel like probably eliminating this would probably be fine.
Yeah, and if we need a swine ordinance, we can create one.
We can always create one. We can always create one.
And I would want to come to that meeting.
So let's if it's okay with you guys, let's just put this in eliminate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see. Oh, non-intoxicating beverages. So this is another one that was recommended for elimination. Section 6-6, sale of certain non-intoxicating beverages, license fee. No person shall keep open a place of business for the retail sale of beverages delivered wholly or in part from cereals or substitutes thereof and containing less than 1/2 of 1% of alcohol. unfermented grape juice, ginger ale, root beer, sarsaparilla, pop, artificial mineral waters, carbonated waters or beverages, natural fruit juices, or other so-called soft drinks without first obtaining a license from the licensing authority issued in accordance with the provisions of chapter 140. For the fee for each such license shall be $1.
I was just thinking of our kombucha place and shit.
Yeah, oh, that makes total sense. All right, let's strike this one.
Okay.
Let's
Gotta keep those soda pop shops from opening up downtown, getting all the kids to go around, getting up to no good.
Before you know it, there'll be one on every corner. All right. Okay. So this is perfect. All right. That's great. So this one I'm happy to strike because apparently state law prohibits this anyway. Like really? That's so this is state law covers section 6-7 swimming the nude, potentially eliminate from the ordinances. So this basically would be swimming in Nashawanic Pond or any other pond. No person shall swim or bathe in any waters of the city so as to be exposed in a nude or indecent state to the view of any person or any dwelling, house, shop, factory in the city. Yeah, I'm okay with striking this one if you guys are.
Yeah.
Okay, so put that on the chopping block, Lindsay.
Okay. Yep.
Section 6-21. There are accessibility concerns when it comes. Oh, we already covered this one.
Oh, yeah, we did that. Well, we did.
Yeah, so we can strike this one.
Let's not spend another moment on
No, we're good. We're good. All right, so 7-15 needs updating. Griffin Hagen and Associates are no longer providing reports. The Collins Center report is now being used. So let's go to section 7-15. Let's see if I can find that.
I believe there might be more that needs to be updated too, and we'd have to, maybe not, but if we do, it's HR that would update.
Okay, so this would be 7-15, adoption of a plan. The report on classification and compensation of positions prepared by Griffin Hagen and Associates, a copy of which is on file in the office of the city clerk, is hereby made a part of this chapter as if fully set forth herein. Ooh.
See, that's why the whole thing needs to be updated, because the Griffin Hagen and Associates, we don't use that.
We don't use.
So that dictated everything that came after. So HR, I think, needs to give us input, like specifically on
this might be a little bit of a bigger one.
Yeah.
So and it almost looks like we should be looking at all of section 7 here.
Yes. Well, then it says section 716 updating needed. Yeah, probably all of it.
Oh, right. 716. Yep. Updating needed. Yep. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the long-term file.
Okay.
And copy. Give me one more second here. Okay, yeah, because that's gonna we should definitely have HR working with us on that one.
Sorry, read the next one.
Okay. All right, so the next one. Are we section 8-1?
Yeah.
Okay, this paragraph is written as one sentence and difficult to decipher. Revised text to be easier to comprehend and update. All right, let's get to it. What is it? 8-1. Okay.
It's pretty amazing how to fit all that in one sentence.
Whoa. That's a huge sentence. All right, no person without express approval of the city council or its agents shall place or cause to be placed, throw, or distribute in any street, lane, common, park, court, alley, or other public place in the city or on private property without the express approval of said property owner or its agent, any dirt, filth, garbage, decaying animal or vegetable matter, or snow, ice, or rubbish, rubbish being defined as any combustible and non-combustible waste material, except garbage, and includes, but it is not limited to, such materials as papers, paybill, poster, notice, advertisement, or printed paper of any prescription or any advertising, appliance, or medium, except newspapers distributed to purchasers, rags, cartons, boxes, wood, rubber, leather, tree branches, yard trimmings or clippings, tin cans, metals, mineral matter, glass, dust, and the residue from burning of wood materials, coke, and other combustible materials.
What?
Okay.
Well, I don't get it. At one point it says except garbage. That was weird.
Yeah, because it literally says right before that garbage.
Yeah, that says except
Dirt, filth, garbage, decaying animal. What? Okay, so this one, and this is interesting because if you look at the second paragraph of this, all unsolicited printed materials that are distributed onto public or private property in the city of Easthampton must be placed attached to a mailbox, placed on a porch, hung on a doorknob, or placed between doors. No such material should be placed in the street, driveway, or elsewhere without the permission from the landowner. Fines or for any violation of this ordinance are outlined in Chapter 6. So we updated this in 2010 when we changed it. Apparently, we didn't look at the first paragraph because this
didn't want to. It was too much.
No, because it was too much. So, and I think it should be prohibited to place garbage on public or private property, right? I mean, that's littering.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm trying to think if we have another place in the ordinances where we talk about littering that would cover this.
That's a good.
But if not, I think that we could probably like make this a lot more concise and still be applicable. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If,
I think that if you gave me half an hour to just rework this into 4 sentences, it would be fine. Or anybody else could do it.
Yeah, no. Tom, I christened the garbage and refuse wordsmith. So and I think that this potentially could be one of the easy ones. We just would need to look at the wordsmithing to make sure that it makes sense and go from there. Do you feel comfortable with that, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put that on Lindsay. Let's put that on the pile of things that are probably not a huge fix, but we just need to fix the language.
Right.
Okay. Okay. 821, injure the feet of horses. Okay. 823, play any game of ball, football, or coitus. Okay, let's get to
Is it coitus? I don't think so.
What is it? What is it? Did I say it wrong?
Well, I don't
What
think
is it?
I don't know, but I don't think it's coitus.
Well, I know. Are you sure?
We don't know what it is, but I mean, I don't think people.
That's the only word I know that looks like that. Okay, I apologize. I should keep decorum as the chair here. So.
What if for the injured the feet of people or horses, you just said like people or animals instead of horses?
Yeah. So and I think it's under placing nails, glass, or other similar objects in the street.
Yeah.
What's crockery?
Like things you cook with, maybe.
The feet of
Scrap
animals.
iron, nails, tacks. I mean, no person shall place in any street of the city. Injure the feet of or damage wheels of any tires of vehicles. Yeah, we could probably just say no person shall place upon any street in the city any object that could damage the wheels or tires of any vehicle. Just something as simple as that.
Or did you want to include, as Tom said, feet of any animals? Or I was just thinking of dogs.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, like if someone throws a bunch of roofing nails on the road, or
Yeah.
I mean, that could go through a thin sneaker potentially. So.
Yeah, totally.
You just said injured the feet of people or animals.
Yep. I think that works fine with me.
Okay, so we'll injure Say to injure the feet of animals, okay.
Yep.
Section 21, okay. Oops. I hit my screen.
And I believe the snow removal one is in public safety. That's part of the ones that we're reviewing.
Yep.
Okay. So let's look at 23. Coasting and playing games in the streets. No person shall, within the limits of any public street or highway in the city, coast or play any game. So what does coast mean? Like ride a skateboard? Like
I don't think they had skateboards in 1945.
we do like what you know, they had those like little scooter things, right? Didn't they? Made out of like wood.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of what coasting would be. Roller skating. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
right, so we'll figure that out. I guess maybe it'll become clear as we go. Or play any game of ball, football, quoits, or any other game of amusement which interferes with the convenient and free use of the street or highway by any person traveling or passing along the same or along. Oh, this wording is really interesting.
Oh, you know what quoits is? It's a ring of iron, rope, or rubber thrown in a game to encircle or land. So when you just throw a ring on a peg, that's all it is.
So it's like rudimentary horseshoe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quoit, it's pronounced. not
Quoit.
Okay.
Okay. And you shall not throw stones, snowballs, sticks, or other missiles, or shoot or use any spring gun or air gun or bow and arrows in any public way of the city. Okay. And the recommendation is just to update that. And so really, I mean, it just like no person shall block any street or highway, you know, with, I mean, this is really.
Seems like with anything, you shouldn't be.
Yeah, with anything, like,
yeah.
You know, other than, you know, things that are like free speech things, you know, like, and I don't know if I think that might be covered by different things other than local ordinance, but, you know, I mean, I could see like people, you know, throwing a Frisbee in the street or playing flag football or something in the street when nobody's coming.
Yeah.
Right. And it says that you're basically allowed to do that as long as you're not obstructing anybody. So
Right.
if you're on like a quiet side street throwing around a football and a car comes and you get out of the way.
It's not a
fine.
problem.
Yeah,
Right.
we played pickleball right in front of our house on the street.
Yeah.
But if I were to do that in front of my house, it would probably be a problem.
It would be a problem. It would be a problem. So, I mean, this one is just like, you know, this is just, I think, a wordsmithing of this paragraph.
Yeah.
Because I think the intent is right, is like nobody should be playing games that are interfering with the free use of the street.
Can we change it to just playing games in street?
Yeah. It's like no person shall, you know, block any public street or highway in the city, you know, while playing games that interferes with the free use of the street or highway by people that are traveling.
That's
And then
it.
that would be a
shoot bows and arrows in the street.
right. And so that would be a period. And then you could say, and no person shall throw, in like a new sentence, no person shall throw stones, snowballs, sticks, or other missiles, or shoot guns, or bow and arrows in the public way. I think that works for me. I think that's
what
probably,
was the second part? Did you say?
it's a no person shall throw stones, snowballs, just like instead, like put a period and then take out the or.
Okay.
So you'd say no person shall throw stones, snowballs, sticks, or other missiles, or shoot any spring gun or air gun or bow and arrows in any public way of the city.
Okay, I think I have it.
Yeah.
Can I read it to you
It
guys?
just, you know, just turn it into 2 sentences and, you know, make it more concise.
Yeah, where was the sentence? Where did you start the new sentence?
Right after, you know, not blocking any person traveling or passing along the road.
Okay.
And then that would be a period.
Okay. Okay. And then also no person shall,
Throw stones.
okay. All right, so I have now the new title of this ordinance is playing games in streets.
Yep.
No person shall within the limits of any public street or highway in the city play any games which interfere with the convenient and free use of the street or highway by any person traveling or passing along the same. Period. No person
Yep.
shall throw stones, snowballs, sticks, or other missiles, or shoot any spring gun or air gun or bow and arrows in any public ways of the city.
Perfect.
Okay.
I think that works. I think that's a good update.
Okay, good. All right, cool.
Okay, let's look at 8.35. So we have 8.35, which it says needs updating. Any coal or trunk. Okay, so nope, this is called obstructing sidewalks by placing boxes or other objects thereon. No person shall place upon any sidewalk any coal, trunk, bale, box, crate, cask, barrel, or package or thing so as to obstruct the sidewalk for more than 1 hour or for more than 10 minutes after being notified by a police officer to remove it.
So couldn't we just take that whole list and just say like any object?
Yeah,
Yep.
anything, yeah.
Yep, let's just take the whole list out and say any object so as to obstruct the sidewalk.
Okay.
And you could even say boxes and other objects, just cut that down to placing objects thereon.
Mm-hmm.
So take out the placing boxes?
You was just placing boxes and other objects. You could really just say placing objects.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Doesn't really matter what they are.
no. Yeah, I was thinking like when people put stuff out for free and stuff. No person shall place upon any sidewalk any object so as to obstruct the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So as to obstruct the sidewalk for more than 1 hour, more than 10 minutes after we know. Okay, cool.
Okay.
I need
Thank
that
you.
out. Okay.
Yeah. Section 8-61, barricading and lighting. Any person who is granted a permit to obstruct or excavate upon any street shall put up and keep at all times a suitable railing around the parts of the sidewalk or street so obstructed or dug up, so long as the same shall be unsafe or inconvenient for traveling. The person granted the permit shall also keep a sufficient number of lighted lanterns at or near the parts of the street or sidewalk so dug up from twilight through the entire night to warn travelers.
Well, now that we have these LED lights.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess we would really say like the person shall provide adequate lighting.
Yeah.
Yep. And upon any street or a suitable railing. I mean, it seems like having a suitable railing around parts of the sidewalk or street that it's obstructed or dug up.
Yeah, that part makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then and with LED lighting, it should be easy to, you know, have it, if it's not sufficiently lit on its own, to have either like a flashing light or something that signifies that that area is unsafe, you know, like those little orange blinking lights or something like that.
Mhm. The person granted the permit shall, we could say ensure versus keep in case.
Yep.
Ensure that there is a sufficient amount of lighting.
Yep. A sufficient amount of lighting where part of the street or sidewalk is dug up that is active from dawn to dusk or something.
Yeah, it's kind of sweet from twilight through night.
Oh yeah, twilight. Well, you can leave twilight.
It's kind of sweet. To warn travelers.
All right.
Is
I like
this
it.
where the parts of the street or sidewalk are so dug up, are dug up? Are dug up. From twilight till dawn, from dusk till dawn. to warn travelers, or from dusk to dawn to alert
Yep.
bypasser. I like traveler. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll
Keeps
leave
some of
it.
that
We'll leave it with the warn
1945.
travelers. I like it. It's a little. It's still. It's nice.
Yeah. And so that brings us, Lindsay, do you feel okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. That brings us to section 8-62, permit for excavating for purpose of building cellar doors, etc. Specifications. The Board of Public Works may grant permits for excavation in any sidewalk or other portion of the street not consistent with the provisions of the general laws for cellar door. Why would cellar doors? Why would you need to dig up the street to put a cellar door in? Is that?
Well,
Is that?
I feel like that would not be for residents, but I don't know if we have them. I'm thinking in cities where you have the bulkheads right on the sidewalks,
Right.
but we don't have that here.
Not really. I mean, I guess like downtown, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was
Tom's precinct. Passages for light and air, coal holes. Okay. I mean, it seems like it kind of seems like that part might be outdated, like that might not be applicable anymore.
I feel like, yeah, we could probably strike all of this.
I mean, no passageway, coal hole, or other passage shall extend more than 3.5 feet into the sidewalk or the portion of the street. Can you imagine if someone just was like, yeah, I'm going to build a cellar hole into the street, 3.5 feet into the street. And other portions of the streetway, and the same shall be made secure by a suitable platform, gate, or other covering as the Board of Public Works shall determine.
This is so interesting because it's so common in, like, I don't know, New York City, but I haven't seen it anywhere around here. So it's interesting that they put it in here. I think we can remove this whole part, and if there's a
yeah, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna, if it's okay with you guys, I'm gonna put this on the needs further review, but basically what I'm gonna do with it is I'm gonna send it to Greg Nuttleman and say, hey, does this apply to anything? and if he says no, then we can just strike it. Does that sound fair?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So. Okay. All right. That's good. All right. Because that one is really interesting. Chapter 8. Okay, so Chapter 8, Article 5. This section on signs should be reviewed for accuracy with current practices. Board of Public Works reported not having any issues of this kind come before them. Recent to these fall under the Board of Public Works, zoning, or building inspector should be reviewed and clarified. All right, Chapter 8, Section 5. Signs.
Signs.
Yeah. So here's the thing with signs. I believe, and you know, like through our planning department, we've been waiting for some guidance on a new sign ordinance. I want to check in with Jeff on this because a lot of this is outdated, and even though we just redid it and recently, I mean, somewhat recently. Wait a minute, this is different.
1945.
This is, oh, okay. So cross reference zoning. So in the zoning ordinance, we did that's what it is. So public extending for public ways. Okay, so let's take a look at this. No person shall erect, maintain, or display any sign or other advertising device or any part which extends 6 inches or more into or over the limits of a public way in the city without first obtaining a permit for the Board of Public Works. I think that's out of date. I don't think that's something that happens anymore. Okay. My guess here is that since we have such a large zoning in the zoning ordinance, we have such a big section on signs that it's so much more detailed and still needs to get updated. Like a lot of this might just be able to be taken out.
And then there's the further question of a lot of similar sign zoning has since been found to be unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional.
So there's
And that's, yeah.
which was my first experience with city government, actually.
Right.
But
That's funny.
yeah, funny how things go. But you know, I think that, like, you know, this probably needs some further review and some probably chat with Jeff would be my guess. But
Yeah.
certainly if things are, if we know things to be unconstitutional and we are doing a review of ordinance, that kind of seems like if something we know is unenforceable,
Yeah.
maybe we should think about taking it out.
Well, so the thing is here is like, so what we have is we have these like kind of requirements, you know, for example, like section 8-75 is height requirements. In the zoning ordinance, the sign, you know, the sign, that's very spelled out really clearly by the, you
Right.
know, all the different zoning districts and everything. So like that could just be completely, I have a feeling that almost all of this, we could probably just delete this section since it's covered in the zoning ordinance, and that's probably a more appropriate place for it. But let's, what I'll do is I'll put this into we need to take a broader look at this category, and that way we can check in with Jeff and, you know, kind of get some guidance on the fact that the zoning ordinance is going to have to be updated.
Yeah.
As it relates to signs. So, and then as part of that, we might be able to just take this out.
Mhm.
Does that seem fair to you guys?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems good.
Okay. Okay, so 8-76,
That's-
the ordinance only relates to nonprofit organizations, churches, civic organizations, or community drives or celebrations. In regard to the issuance of such permits and location and character of the matter displayed, but the discretion of the Board of Public Works shall be final. The absolute discretion resting with the Board of Public Works feels problematic. Please review why is this here? Should be this part of the zoning ordinance section 10. So let me just get to 8.7. So permit required for erection of, so it's another part of the signs.
Yeah, another part of the sign, so we can.
Yeah, so I'll just keep that in within that. All right, so that puts us to chapter 11. Animal control ordinance needs to be updated to match current practice. Let's go to chapter 11.
Hey, we don't even have an animal control officer.
Yeah, because we work with
Westfield?
Westfield. Yep. So this whole section is probably okay. So I think that the licensing fees are all up to date. License required that's up to date. Kennel license, rabies vaccination is up to date. Nuisance, public safety, dogs running at large. Was there any specific parts of this that we were just the whole thing?
I think it was the whole thing. I think this was the part that Barb weighed in on, maybe.
Complaint. Oh, maybe the animal control officer authorization, municipal. Oh, municipal animal shelter. We definitely don't
Yeah, that
have.
was- yeah.
One thing that I saw was it says no person shall permit a dog owned or kept by him. That's another thing. There's a lot of gendered language in here. I feel like we could just sort of globally change.
Well, that was
Um,
one of the recommendations that we have to do.
Yeah. To perform its natural bodily functions on public property or on the property of other than that dog's owner or keeper without the approval of said property owner. So like if I'm in the park and my dog poops, like have I broken, or like if I'm walking my dog down the street and there's like, the strip of grass between the sidewalk and the street, which is that somebody else, or like, I
Owned
don't
by the
know,
city usually.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's public, but, or,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like that's just a thing that happens a lot. Like people take their dogs for walks
Yeah.
so that they can do their business. So it just seems kind of,
And what section was that?
that's 11.4 nuisance public safety.
Okay, so no biting, howling. Okay. Oh, so it's the second. It's like the
Yeah.
second paragraph. Second. That probably should be its own little paragraph, but because the first part of that is no person shall own or keep within the city any dog which by biting, barking, howling, or in any other manner disturbs the peace and quiet of any neighborhood or endangers the safety of any person or domesticated or farm animal. No person shall permit a dog owned or kept by him. There you go. There's to perform its natural body functions on public property or the property of another of that dog's owner or keeper without the approval of said property owner. I mean, it should just say like no person shall permit a dog owned or kept by them or to perform its natural body functions on public property or another's property without removing that waste.
Yeah, you have to remove it. I mean, the dog, everyone walks their dog and they poop. Well, you can't control your dog.
Yeah, I mean, it's like as long as you pick it up.
Sophie, could you please
only poop on our property?
Yeah, you need to here's a parcel map, and this is where. Yeah.
Knocking on your neighbors.
Like no dog shall own or keep any dog that barks. Is sort of like that seems a little intense. I mean, I know that like I get complaints. I'm sure you two get complaints about barking dogs, annoying people, and but like I don't know that like that just seems a little intense.
Well, you know what? Another thing is it doesn't say who the enforcement agent like. Is this enforced by the animal control? That's not something they do.
Yeah, I think I remember Barb talking about this area because she was talking about a dog that's always running free around her house, and that there's no enforcement. So I think that it's like if we're not actually enforcing any of those, I think it would probably be good for someone to, like an animals person and someone in the city to read through it and what's really reasonable.
So does this sound reasonable? I'm going to put this in the pile of needs further review, and I'll email Barbara and say, hey, we're working on this. Do you have any suggestions for us? Because we want to update this and make it more usable. And that way we can get her specific feedback when we pick this up next time.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, I'm glad that Tom brought up the gendered language because we went right into this table. So that is a recommendation up, up higher in the document. And so I think maybe, we can just probably maybe make a global change. Like if we could do a search through he's and just replace them all with theys. And if it says anywhere like man, we could person, and that might be a recommendation that we can bring just as a global recommendation. We're going to change all the gendered language to and like have the public hearing on say just have that as an item within this. I think that should be fine. Okay, so that brings us to section 3-76. Oh wait, oh no, actually no it doesn't, because that's public safety. So that brings us to the end of our I mean, I feel it was super productive. And so here's what I'm thinking. Lindsay, were you able to keep a record of all the low-hanging fruit that we can? Right. So, if you can send me an email with that, what I'll do is I'll send it to Omar and Barbara and just say, hey, can we find out from the city attorney if we can bundle these things? They're all relatively simple changes, wording, grammar, etc. Can we bundle these things? I'll find out about whether we can do that. And then what I'll do is I have a document with the ones that we need to break down further and get more information. So I'll
start digging into getting more information for those, whether it's from DPW or whether it's from Barbara for the animal thing. And we'll just schedule another meeting where we pick this up and start digging into those.
Sounds good.
Sounds
And
fair?
I just want to real quick bring up, there were in the global recommendations section, there were like 4 or 5 of these recommendations just
Yep.
above that table.
Yep.
So one of them is the gender neutral language. One of them is about definitions of a veteran, which I think
Yes.
is really interesting, but definitely is going to require city solicitor
Yep.
feedback. There's one about just generally looking at ordinances that are infrequently enforced and whether they could potentially be enforced in an unfair manner. And then there's one thing saying the committee recommended a global review of fees and fines.
Yeah.
None of those seem like low-hanging fruit except for the gendered language. But
Yep.
I just want to just say, just because we jumped right into the table, that those were things. I think the gendered language should be, I think we can throw that in with the bundle if.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I have those, I have all those global recommendations added to the document of things that we need to continue to work on. So that is all included. And I think the fines and fees is one it's gonna take us a little while. But that's one that I think is worth doing, just because, like if you sell soda, it's $1 licensing fee.
I think we should put that under Lindsay's purview.
Yes. All right. So, well, I feel like we've done a pretty admirable job here for tonight. So let's adjourn, do what we need to do, and then we'll pick this up in a few weeks once we work on some of the other things that we have on our agenda. So
Great.
I appreciate
I'll send
you
an
guys.
email in the meantime to just with that reworked language for that one super sentence.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Oh yeah, so that could be added to the low hanging fruit as well. The super
Yep.
sentence. Great.
Yep.
All
All
right,
right.
I'll send these tomorrow morning probably.
I appreciate that. All right. Nice work, everybody. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council Peak,
Aye.
Councilor Rothschild,
Hi.
and I vote yes as well. You guys have a great night.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.